Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the February 10th, 2021 meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference. Please be patient. We'll do our best to be efficient and allow everyone to participate equitably. This meeting is also being broadcast and streamed online by FCTV in real time. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be aware of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. The chair recognizes the attendance and assistance of all our staff members, Jen, Kevin, Alyssa, Mark, Amy, and Susan. And we have a full complement of commissioners tonight. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to remind the commissioners that for commenting, I'll call on each of you at the appropriate time so we don't speak over each other. And all votes have to be done by roll call, even if you made the motion or the second. To our public participants, there will be an opportunity for public comment for each hearing. If you'd like to comment on a particular hearing, you may submit any comments or questions via the chat function once that hearing has been opened. At the appropriate time, I will call for public comments and any submissions will be read into the record. The link and further instructions are posted on the agenda. First up tonight, other business. Eagle Scout project, create a new trail system on the Fender-Walled property. Jen?
Yes,
Mark,
Mr.
probably.
Chairman, I think Mark Kaspersick would like to say a few words beforehand, but I am going to be promoting Matthew Briggs up. He is the Eagle Scout candidate, and Adam Thomas, who is with Troop 40 and is the committee chairman for the Eagle Scout project. So I'm going to promote both those gentlemen up.
All right. Mark, it's all on you.
Hey, good evening, Concom members. I'll let Matthew do most of the talking and, Adam can chime in too, but just in a nutshell, Matthew Briggs, came asking to do an Eagle Scout project, with Adam Thomas's guidance at the Fender Wall property. And it's to create a new trail system and to map the system. So, that's in a nutshell. I'll let Matthew take it over from here, but I would like to say something at the end of the presentation though. Thank you.
Mr. Briggs.
Hello.
All on you, Matt. Relax. We're all
Yeah.
friendly here.
Slow Wi-Fi.
Matt, we can see the presentation right now. It's loading right up, so you're doing great. Why don't you just talk a little bit while it's loading?
Okay, I can't see it right now, but So my Eagle Scout project is on restoring a trail that's at the walled fender property off of Thomas Landers Road. It's almost done. So basically there's already a trail right now, but it's like too close to all of the existing sand pits. So like here's the property, it's along Thomas Landers Road. Right in the middle of the property, there's a bunch of sand pits that are being eroded from all of the wear and tear of the original trail. So we're gonna make a new trail to stop the erosion and hopefully prevent the dirt bike problem that there's at the trail. So the new trail will start at the shallow pond woodlands parking lot. I'll go across the street, follow the road, and then enter through this area right here. The red line is the new trail, while the dotted line around here is the old trail that goes through the sand pits. This new trail will connect to the greenway up in the bogs and the shallow pond woodland trail down here at the bottom. Problems with the old trail. At the very beginning of the old trail, there's this sign that says no snowmobiles, ATVs, or dirt bikes. But even though this sign's here, there's not much like enforcement a sign can do like with all of those motor vehicles. So throughout the trail, there are portions where you can see like dirt bike damage right here. There's like a trail right here. And then over here, there's like a jump behind me and over here. Remove and repurpose. So throughout the trail, there's this like man-made fort out of these thin trees, and in this area too. We were thinking of using these, like dismantling this fort and using those sticks to outline the part of the sand pit that goes to, or the part of the trail that goes through the bottom of the sand pit, so people know where the trail continues and just so they stay on the trail. We're hoping to get at least 20 scouts and family members. We're gonna like cut down tree limbs, trim the trees. Excuse me. Move the brush to backfill the existing trail so that the dirt bikes don't continue using it. And then we're gonna have certain adults use a gravely to clear out a like a base for the trail for us to go on. We're hoping to do this project any snow-free weekend in March. This is a picture from the top of the sand pits overlooking at the bottom. This is me and Mr. Thomas. Me, Mr. Thomas, and Mr. Kaspersick went and walked the trail a couple Fridays ago in the snow. And we made sure that it was like far enough away from the wetland in the middle.
I'll do it. That's fine.
Yeah, and I think that's it.
Yeah, perfect. I will do that. Sounds like a plan. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Matt, are you all done with your project? Because you can stop sharing your screen. Thank you.
He's way ahead of us. All right, Mr. Thomas, would you like to add anything to that?
I'd like to add that an Eagle project is a requirement that where the boys have to do a couple of things in order to attain their Eagle badge. And the first thing is they have to create a project, and when they create that project, they have to really lead all aspects of the project. So what you're seeing right now is you notice that Matthew's doing all the work here, and he will be leading the boys out on the site, doing all of the supervision of the boys and working them through this project. It's one of the things that's really unique about scouting. The leaders are really in the background guiding and making sure that the boys aren't doing anything that would, obviously hurt somebody or do something wrong. But it's really one of the beauties of scouting that this is where the boys get to shine, and they work and do all of these activities at their own direction with a safety net behind them. So, and it's kind of unique in the world, I mean, this day of helicopter parents and everything else. So, but that would be what I would add to that. But yeah, Walt Fender's a property that needs a little more attention. It's been a parcel that sits between the 300 Committee's Shallow Pond parcel and the Greenway, and it's a natural connector corridor between those two. But the trail system there doesn't really lend itself to that. A lot of the trail is in the sand pit and not particularly pleasant. And what this project will do is move some of those trails away from environmentally sensitive areas and towards areas that are, currently just regular woodland. And so it's going to be great. Questions?
Mr. Kasperzak, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just had a few things to mention. As Adam mentioned, when we discussed, this is a very underutilized parcel. Not a lot of people go there. The paths that are there now were sort of created on their own. And one of the things we did before we started is we looked at the conservation restriction that's on the property. And it basically states in there that there shall be no paths within 100 feet of the certified vernal pools there or other wetlands. So that was the first step, in doing this project. Matthew, and Adam worked together to, get those paths away from the wetland, still have them, be reasonable paths that, people could traverse. And then, eliminate some of the branches that, are coming from every direction. So once this is all done, Matthew already has a map, that he showed you that will be available for walkers in the future, so they'll know where they're going. It is quite a beautiful trail, especially as you take the east end that ends up on Turner Road. But by having better access and more people there, that will hopefully discourage a lot of the dirt bikes that are sort of trashing the property. And, hopefully we'll get more reports and, discourage the bike use over there. So, this is a real win-win for us. And, it's great that, Matthew and Adam are here to do this project for us. I also wanted to give a shout out to DPW because as a follow-up to this, I don't know if you are aware, there's a parking area that's right across from the old concrete plant there. And it's very deep. It's been sort of abandoned over the years because people were dumping there and rocks were put and blocked it off. So what's going to happen now is DPW Park said they would come out and clear some of the area along the roadway to make it more shallow. DPW highway is going to come and level it out, put some, gravel there and, line it with the stone. So it's, it's a little bit closer to the road and more visible and less likely to have dumping going on. So, that parcel will be in tip-top shape, hopefully by the summer. So, and I just want to add, though, thank you very much to, Matthew Briggs and, Adam Thomas for making this happen. There's a lot of energy there. They got the job done. They did everything, we asked them to do.
Excellent. Good job, Matt. Good luck with everything. Anybody like to add anything? Jen?
I would, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Adam. Matthew, I really like your idea of using kind of the natural elements out there, the the kind of tree fort to create that path through the sand pit. So it's a nice contiguous path. I think that'll be really nice. So thank you for that.
I have a quick
Excellent.
comment, Jamie.
Go right ahead.
So I'm actually very familiar with this property because the former steward for the 300 committee would ask me every year if I would walk the property with her. And it's true, there's some beautiful areas through the woods. But I also want to say I'm particularly excited that it's going to be used as a link. I think it's great linking the trail systems in the town. So it's a good choice. And Matt, we're counting on you to get this project done.
No pressure.
No pressure.
No, I have full confidence in Matt.
Excellent. Well, Matt, thank you very much. Good luck to you. We look forward to seeing the finished product.
Thank you.
All right, next up is vote minutes, February 3rd, 2021.
Good night, Mr. Adams. Good night, Mr. Briggs.
Good night, Mr. Briggs. Good luck.
Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Night. Jamie, I've read the minutes and I have one little change, which I've already sent to Susan. And
Okay,
in case anybody wondered what it meant, I'm sure nobody else picked this up because it's something that I said, but Maury was talking about the Buzzards Bay project and the alternative septic systems. And my only comment was that Buzzards Bay Coalition had just gotten the grant so that they could continue to monitor those areas with automated systems. But that's all. So I sent it to Susan and she can make that modification.
all right. Is that a motion then?
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to accept as to be discussed, because I think Pat has something also.
All right,
Second.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I made a couple of minor tweaks to page 5. I sent it off to Susan as well.
okay. So the motion will be for the minutes as corrected.
Correct.
And we have a second by Mr. Byrd. Anybody else have anything to add to it? All right, we'll take the vote. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Ready, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes as corrected. Next up are requests for determination of applicability. First up, Donald DiMartino, 16 Nemasket Road, West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to upgrade to a new Title V septic system. Mr. Newton.
Mr. Chairman, staff recommends a -2 under the state and a -3 under the bylaw, and resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Carlo Hawks, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Ready, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Thank you. Next up, Town of Falmouth, Department of Public Works, care of Peter McConerty, 416 Gifford Street, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove underground gas and diesel storage containers to install an above-ground storage tank AST system and to install native plantings. Mr. Newton.
Mr. Chairman, staff recommends a -2 under the state and a -3 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Carlo Hawk second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Any comments or questions? All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Moody, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawk's eye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Thank you. Next up, Lisa Palmer, trustee, 187 T-Ticket Path, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to vista prune according to FWR 10.18. Mr. Newton,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff recommends a -2 under the state and a -3 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Carlo
Glad-
Hawk second.
Oop.
all right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Moody, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawk's eye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
and Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up are requests for a hearing under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. First up, Michael Carroll, Lot 64B, Lot 83, and Lot 503, Shoreview Avenue, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to conduct invasive species management of Phragmites. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am promoting Tom Bunker up to a panelist to present the project.
Tom, it's all on you.
Okay, thank you. Jen, is Sean Wolfe in there?
Hang on, must be under Lillian Wolfe, I hope.
Could be.
I promoted a Lillian Wolfe. It's probably Sean Wolfe up there. Mr. Wolfe, there he is,
There he is.
up as a panelist. Anyone else, Tom?
Mike Carroll, you can see if he asked about how to get on, or at least to watch it. I'm not sure if he wants to be up or just watch, but
Well, I have a Mike with no last name and a Claire Carroll.
yeah. Claire, is that two different people? Two different?
Two different. So
Yeah.
I will promote Claire Carroll up.
They might just
As a
want to watch.
panelist. Okay, there you go, Tom.
Can
I've got a Claire Carroll up as a panelist and Mr. Wolfe up as your panelist.
All right, looks like Claire is going incognito.
It's okay.
Yeah. Thank you. For the record, my name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design, and we prepared this plan in cooperation with Sean Wolfe, who is a Mass Certified Arborist and will be doing this Phragmites control project if it's approved. The property, I'll share my screen now for a moment, if I may.
Sure.
Okay, you'll see that.
Not yet. There it is.
There it is. Okay. The property is in the Belmar Estates area of, it's on the lower peninsula. Let me just see, I can show you in case you're not quite familiar on the locust map here. Belmar Estates is this little area here, so it fronts on Great Pond, and it's just south of Great Harbors, as you can see in this location here. We have on the plan up in the top left corner is Great Pond, and there is an open channel of water that comes through this salt marsh. The north side is owned by the town of Falmouth. It's advertised as lot 503, which is a land court lot, which actually most of the proposed work is on this lot 503. The property line runs around along but not quite touching Shoreview Ave, and then back out again to the property line with the town of Falmouth. So most of this is this lot 503, which is owned by Christopher and Deborah Piazza, who are named in the application here. The lot 64B is this sort of triangular piece right here. And there is actually, it's not to be found on the town assessor's map, but there is, it's combined, it's called part of lot 64B, but there's also this lot 83, which shows on the original subdivision plan, but that's all kind of combined as one by the assessors. And so the property, you see what I've colored green is grass area. It's basically the shoulder, the Shoreview Avenue in this location. And the salt marsh came up fairly close to the road through here. And I think that's why the land court plan, I think the land court was originally owned all the salt marsh area. There's a drainage area here, which to me seems like it has created sort of a delta of silt and runoff come from the road coming into this location. You see the contours, and that also probably is why the Phragmites, because it's kind of disturbed land running into it with the fresh water coming in here. It's probably part of why the Phragmites is doing well in this location. Be my guess. You can see there's a flood hazard zone, a velocity zone on the side toward Great Pond in this location, and it's an AE elevation 12. All the rest of this land up onto crosses over Shoreview Ave, which is only at elevation 4 to 5 through here. And then we have the Falmouth Wetland Regulation VE, a 25-foot wide velocity zone. This area of work is not in the FEMA velocity zone or in the Falmouth Wetland Regulations velocity zone. So what I've outlined here, we located the Phragmites all the way. It runs this brown area and also this orange area through here, and a little bit more emerging around a groundsel bush in this location. So the proposal is to in June, I believe, cut the Phragmites down. The limit of work, by the way, is right through here. See the change between the brown and the orange. So it will only happen up to this line, and the other limit of work is over at the property line here. So it'll be to cut this in June, and Sean can explain some of this, how that will be done better. He can explain it better than I can, but it'll be cut in June, allowed to regrow, and then there'll be some application of the herbicide. And Sean will explain how long this will go on, how many applications, and perhaps what assessment it'll take to determine when the treatment has been successful. So this is the project. There's, what do we have, 1,370 square feet, roughly, of Phragmites to eradicate right through here. I can notice that also I've located an area where it seems as wants to be an emergent wetland community, plant community right in this location here. So in the narrative, it says that this will not be mowed, and of course the Phragmites area will not be mowed, but allowed to regrow with the native plant community And it was also brought up by staff that recommending a root barrier we put along would be the only way to stop it from spreading back in, which would be along this limit of work location. Put it over here so it's far enough away to keep, there's a little bit of bittersweet growing in here too, coming up against it. So keeping all of this Phragmites and bittersweet away from the cedar tree so that can grow better in this location also. And there's another cedar tree and a couple of pine trees here too, which may benefit from this work. So that's it. I'll stop the share, and then Sean Wolfe can explain a little more about the process that he would take in treating the Phragmites.
Thank you, Tom. Mr. Wolf?
Yes, Sean Wolfe, owner Cape Cod Tree Care, certified arborist, and licensed applicator with the state for pesticides. The area will be cut in June with the recommendation of the weed specialist at UMass to allow time for those plants to regrow just to a more manageable height, so you're not having, trying to apply pesticides on a 7 or 8 foot tall plant. You just get better coverage that way. So the cut will be done in June, and then the pesticide application will be a wipe-on application with a cotton glove over a rubber glove to all stems in that outlined area in that orange with a registered aquatic safe herbicide. And then going forward, it would just be monitoring that area in the following growing season to see what retreatment is necessary. And probably realistically, it'll probably be an ongoing issue, not dealing with the rest of that area. But I would say at least 3 seasons worth of managing that particular area.
I guess if any, we'll take any questions now anyway. If you have any specific questions about what's to be done here, I will mention that I thought this project seemed so small. I didn't file. There's a required form, an appendix for a limited project application, which we didn't file. So we'll be requesting a continuance to get that paperwork in. And it has to be advertised in the environmental monitor. But before then, before we continue it, we'll take any questions that you have. So if there's anything that we can, any more information we can put on the plan or the narrative, then we can get that ready for the next time we're here.
All right, Jen?
The only question I have, Tom and Sean, is that the root barrier, we had mentioned that that would probably be a good idea. Do you know what type of root barrier you're going to use, or?
I haven't looked in.
Yeah,
I haven't looked at that. I know some that are made specifically for that, and I think talking with George Patello, and he has some of that impervious barrier that they put on foundations that could be used also. I know that the stuff that's made for it has ridges on it to prevent the roots from spreading too horizontally. And I don't know how deep the roots of the Phragmites go, how deep the barrier would have to be. I kind of have the impression they're fairly shallow, but I might be wrong about that.
Okay, can you get that answer for me at the next hearing?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
All
Unless
right.
Kevin Newton has anything to add.
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, Betsy?
I have a comment and a question. My comment is what Tom, what you described as that trickle of fresh water that's running right into that area is, that those are the perfect conditions. That's the perfect storm
Yep.
on the eastern side of those of our bays, of our estuaries, where seeds will blow and they'll get started. So I'm just wondering if you might think of some way to, well, I don't know how you could do it. I mean, if that's what the drainage is there, but that's, given sometime when seeds are blowing, you're going to set up conditions to just start it again. So
Well, it's a town road. I mean, the owner is not prepared to do a big drainage project rather. It's already a problem. And I know the town from time to time is identifying some spots like this to fix. I don't know if that's something that they might be interested in looking at.
Yeah, well, so I'm just throwing that out. I'd hate to see Mr. Wolfe and you, Tom, put all this, and the Carrolls put all this time and effort and money into something. I mean, it's just by chance that it would start again, but that's the kind of perfect storm where it would start. And my question is, what about the part that you're not doing? Is that not under your ownership? Or are you trying to see whether this works before you put effort into the other?
That is under the ownership of the Carrolls, but at the moment, he want to try a limited project.
I can speak to that real quick. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Basically, Tom just started to say, yeah, we decided to just see if it works, and also to limit the scope to what was benefiting us more than, all our neighbors and stuff. We figured cost-wise, let's make sure it works before we go do all this for, the entire project, width of the area.
Yeah, well, that's what I figured, but I was just throwing that out to confirm.
Yeah, and the other thing, just in terms of the water draining there, I mean, I talked with Jennifer about this, and I thought it was up to the town to put in drains there, and it sounded that way in my discussions with her. So I thought that was going to be revisited.
But yeah, well, I'm just saying that, that's, I mean, Tom described it, and that's exactly how these patches of Phragmites get started. And once they get started, they just spread.
Yeah, well, it's not only just the fact that it might be the cause of that. It's a lot of water when there's a downpour coming from two different streets. It comes down two streets. It takes a left and a right, and it goes all down right through my property.
Mr. Carroll, you need to actually identify yourself for the record, please.
Sure. Michael Carroll, 45 Shoreview Ave.
And you're the applicant. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
That's all I had,
right.
Jamie.
All right, Courtney?
I appreciate the idea that, well, we'll do one section and see if it works. Having been involved in what I would say a very successful Phragmites control project in Little Sippowisset Marsh that was begun in 2007 and is still ongoing. We involved 13 homeowners and covered a number of acres. I don't know the number, but I can assure you that if it's properly done, as you described, Mr. Wolfe, you can eradicate about 98% of the Phragmites the first year. And if you do that whole swath, you're going to be getting the whole patch, and you won't be fighting a battle. You still will have to come back year after year after year. We still do maintenance work on our area. 13, 14 years later. So
Yeah.
You're making a big commitment here, but I'll tell you, your project would be a lot more successful if you could incorporate the entire patch of Phragmites that you have there.
Yep.
That's my point, and I would encourage you to give that very serious consideration. You for one thing, if you're talking about costs, the economies of scale come into play.
Hmm.
You know, you can use, for example, instead of just the bloody glove method, which you're describing, one of the applications that we had employed the use of very directional sprayers because the Phragmites are so dense. You can only do it where there's a monoculture. If you go on a day when there's no wind, you can use a spray, and it's a similar sprayer to that painters use to do interior finish work, where they spray for woodwork and so on. So it's a very directed spray, and it would you get those kinds of economies of scale. I think this project would be a lot more successful in the long run.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents worth.
Yeah. The only issue with that area is it's not super dense. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of native plants in there that
Yeah,
you
okay.
couldn't do a targeted spray with.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Yep.
But I still
so.
think it's the economies of scale.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right. Kevin,
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
all right. Mark,
I have no comments.
all right. Maury,
Maura, you're on mute.
No comments.
thank you. Pat,
No comments.
Peter,
I always like it when Phragmites are going to be destroyed.
Steve,
No comments, thank you.
all right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Tom, what's your request?
I think we should have, because it has to be posted or advertised in the environmental monitor for 14 days, I think we should take a month, 4 weeks to get that in, get the 14 days before we can, and to give some of the other agencies time to respond. So it'll take 4 weeks if that's available around then.
Tom, 4 weeks would bring you to March 10th, or the next available after that is March 24th.
Oh, we'll take the 10th.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, at the request of the applicant, I'll make a motion to continue this to March 10th.
Bird second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until March 10th. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Renee, aye.
Maury,
Arlo Hawks, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. This hearing is continued until March 10th. Thank you, Mr. Wolfe. Thank you, Mr. Bunker.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Next up, continued hearings under notice of intent. First up, Lucius and Wendy Hill, 0 Nashawina Street, Assessors Map 2420, parcel lot 001000, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install a 3-foot wide elevated walkway to an existing licensed ramp and float. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Mike Forcelli up as a panelist to present his continued project.
And I am recusing myself.
Sorry?
Arlo Hawks recusing herself.
Okay. Mr. Boselli?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Mike Forcelli, Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant. I would like to share my screen for my presentation, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
This is a continued hearing. The original hearing was on sometime in January. I can't remember the specific date.
13th,
When was it?
the 13th.
Thank you. The 13th of January. And we made our presentation and we listened to questions and comments and suggestions and submitted revised plans, which I'm about to share with you. The plans were revised to do a few things. First off, in an effort to encourage the salt marsh to grow if the project's approved and the walkway is constructed, we've added notations about installing a mix of salt marsh plugs, 2 varieties, Spartina Peyton, and another one that I'm not even going to try to pronounce, but it's these are both salt marsh plant material that came as a result of a recommendation from Blue Flax Design. I actually have a letter that was submitted to the record to you, Mr. Chairman, that outlines the specifications and recommendations. Teresa Sprague had been on site and verified and confirmed that the area in question is in fact the salt marsh. And we took her recommendations and incorporated it into the plan. We also made a very specific defined path. There were some comments from staff in the staff report that the aerial photos are suggesting that the width of the pathway to the docks seemed to be growing over the years. This was evident from aerial photos. So we're defining it and this would be the plan of record, and an order of conditions would limit the path to as shown on the plan. The elevated walkway sections hopefully would direct users of the dock to a very specific area. And if necessary, we could take additional steps such as a rail fence to
So it doesn't matter.
define the path. In addition to that revision, we made revisions to the details of the dock connection relationship to the walkway. I know there was some questions about, the definition of a dock, and I know that this may seem sort of a semantics driven thing, but just to make the case that the ramp and float exist and they're connected to solid fill pier, this walkway would just be an elevated walkway, not actually physically connected to the dock, but just to provide access in hopes that that would convince you that it could be installed and maintained in a velocity zone. We made some notations and changes to the profile that make it very clear that these are removable aluminum walkway sections. Each one is 3 foot by 12 foot long and can be removed when a storm is approaching, in addition to the ramp and float. The cross section also indicates that. I think a couple of commissioners have commented to make that, make it clear that these would be all lighter weight aluminum sections. We also secured a letter from Ben Carson that's in your file from the W. Schultz Company that indicates that he would be hired by Mr. Hill. He's already maintains and removes the ramp and float seasonally, but he would also remove the ramp, float, and walkway sections prior to the approach of an oncoming hurricane. I think that sums up the revisions. And I'll unshare my screen and take questions.
Thank you, Mr. Boselli. Jen, do you want to begin?
Yes, I think our only comments, I think that our comments from the original staff report stand that, the staff does view this, although Mike tried to show that it's a walkway and not an extension of the dock. The walkway is, it is an extension of the dock. So this 6-inch space between the two, staff is not kind of agreeing with that reasoning. So I think our original comments, I know our original comments from the original staff report still stand. Mike, did you say whether it was a 2 or 3 feet height over the dock elevation?
2 feet.
So it's 2 feet?
Yep.
And this never went to DMF for their comments over Salt Marsh?
No,
No, okay.
because it wasn't considered a dock. We didn't submit to them.
You didn't consider it a dock, but no, okay, I did, I just wanted to know, because they usually like to see, they like to see that 1.5 to 1 ratio over a marsh to try to get it to grow up. I think the staff laid out our concerns in the previous staff report, Mr. Chairman.
All right. With that, we're going to start with Pat.
Initially, we were talking about this as a dock, and Mike was suggesting that if you put the 6 inches between, it's a separate structure. It's not part of the dock. Whether you call it a structure or a dock, the velocity zone regulations at 1038-4G1 says that new structures in a velocity zone are prohibited. So it doesn't really matter if you're calling it a dock or additional structure.
Can I just respond to that?
Sure.
Again, I'm not, like I said at the last hearing, I'm not going to try to out-lawyer a lawyer, but there's also sections, provisions in that section that say no structures other than open piling foundation structures. And this, to me, is considered an open piling structure.
I think that we've gone down that road in litigation. And I still stand that, this walkway is a structure by any definition, but we'll see what the other members feel.
I know. Yeah.
All right, Peter.
I have no questions.
All right, Steve.
I have no questions. Thank you.
All right, Betsy.
I have no questions, but I will say that I would love to be able to solve these people's problem by having this, but I don't think it meets regulations.
Courtney.
I'm inclined to agree with Betsy on that.
All right. Kevin.
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mark.
Well, I was just wondering if maybe, at least if part of this, instead of putting structure on it, they could just build up the height of that already existing concrete walkway by 1.5 feet or whatever. Beyond that, I have to admit, I agree that it is new structures, and that's a disadvantage. In fact, banned. That's all.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function?
Hang on, Mr. Chairman, I have to find it. No, there isn't, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right. We heard enough. What's your pleasure?
Make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close this hearing. And again, for the record, Maury Harlow Hawks has recused from this hearing. If there's nothing else, I'm going to take the vote. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Renee, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. This hearing is closed. Thank you, Mr. Boselli.
Thank you.
Mike, do you have another one this evening?
Yes, I have one.
Oh, yeah, you do. Sorry about that. Okay. I'd see, can one of you please place Mike back into the attendees list for me? Thank you. I don't have that capability, and I'll remove him. Thank you.
That's the power of IT for you.
It is.
Next up, Melissa McKim, trustee, Nina's Marina Realty Trust, 306 Scranton Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to repair 330 linear feet of an existing licensed bulkhead and stone riprap, to install a new timber boardwalk, drainage trench, and native plantings, and to install a new vinyl sheet pile bulkhead adjacent to and directly landward of the existing licensed timber bulkheads. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Mike McGrath up to present the project. Mike, you're muted. Mike, you're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Could I share my screen?
Yes, sir.
Let me see, where are we? Yes. This is a continued hearing, and to just refresh you, this is the site is 306 Scranton Avenue, and the bottom line is we filed a notice to basically repair the timber bulkhead all the way around like this, and to fix some riprap in this location, and to put in this particular bulkhead is low. So what happens is that the ocean overtops it in storms and has been killing the plants. So you asked me to, well, that was the purpose of filing the work in this area. You asked me to clarify the plants, and I clarified the required plants in that area. So what I have done is, whoops, so I have a series of exhibits. That's exhibit 1. This just shows you that how we're going to get to the site. And what you asked me to do was you wanted to see a siltation boom installed in the harbor. So we revised the plan to add the siltation boom that's shown here, and it's shown to be continually all the way around the site and runs like that. You asked me to also see if we could basically install leaching systems. So what we did was we have shown you that this is a system that's been installed in several projects, including a couple of town projects, where this is the new bulkhead. The new bulkhead is impervious. So what will happen is water will build up. So the other thing is that water will come along here, and rather than put in slots in the bulkhead, we drain this through an 18-inch depth Title V sill sand filter. Then we catch it. There's this impervious liner here, and then it comes out here. And we've done this at several different locations. And you wanted us to prove to you that there was some reason that we couldn't do this. So what I have done is we did a test pits for this project. I think it was 2010. And I gave you a copy of the soil logs. and that's the location of the 2 test pits. It appears that up over the groundwater to the, from the groundwater up is nothing but miscellaneous fill, and it's unsuitable to leach anything in it. The other thing I did was I found an ancient plan, I think it's 1913 or 1916, and it showed that at one time there was an old power station or power plant on Scranton Avenue. And so what the owner has already found is by trying to dig, he's run into this concrete. It's very thick, it's very old, and there's some other remnants of concrete that are behind the existing bulkhead. So we don't think there's any other thing we can do except to put in the leaching system that we showed you before. You also asked me to clarify the plantings. We are going to repair this riprap. When we repair this riprap, there's a strip of native plants. And what we're going to propose to do is add some Rosa rugosa, so it's a continuous band all the way along. Then what I also showed you was, and in this exhibit, but in another one, that after they install this, we are going to put in new plants, and there's a better exhibit that shows you a blow up of those plants. I have it here someplace. Yeah, this is a blow up of that. And these plants have survived, and there's one shrub over here to survive, and the rest of this is bare gravel. So by raising this bulkhead a foot, we think that we can now go in, and we've given you these areas. They were required at one time to be planted. And so we've identified the plants and the spacing. So I think we've clarified it. We also, like I said, showed you the area that is at the above the riprap. So we also did provide you with a maintenance plan that described how that the owner will keep this well maintained. There's a geogrid material here. Every once in a while, they'll examine this, or if it starts to flood, they'll basically may have to, as much as replace the sand. Most of the time, if it's going to clog, it's not going to clog in the first inch or so. But anyways, they can actually, there's a maintenance plan we've given you that describes how this is maintained. As I said, we've used this before, and after a storm, this comes out in drips and sometimes a little stream, but not very much of a stream. So I believe that I think that we have provided you with all of the things. Now, there's one thing that's the owner has asked me to add to the plan, is that there is, he wants to, when he's redoing the bulkhead, he wants to replace 7 piles. There are 7 piles in this location. What happens is he's had his, he actually ties up his boat along this face, and there was one storm where the boat floated up, and it actually, the side of the boat almost got hung up on the top of the piles. So there's 7 piles in here. He's going to take them out and make them taller. So there'll be 7 new piles in this location. And as I showed you on that section, they're going to be sticking 7 foot above the boardwalk. And that's high enough that his boat will never get hung up on this. So I believe that I've given you answers to everything you asked for. I know that we agreed to certain conditions before, just to remind you that we agreed based on a filing from the Division of Marine Fisheries that there will be no refueling on site. They'll have to take the equipment off site to refuel. And I did show locations for, if we go back to the site plan, I showed a dewatering basin because when they dig down to uncover these tie rods, they may be or will be in the groundwater. So we showed a place to put it, and then you wanted a place where he would be storing some of the materials, and it's over in this location. So I believe that we've answered all the issues, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have concerning the application.
Thank you, Mr. McGrath. If you would stop screen sharing,
Oh, I'm sorry.
please. All right. Jen?
1 second, Mr. Chairman, I have to reorient myself here. Mike, the only question I have is on the planting. So I'm gonna bring your colored schematic up. If my only question is if the plantings are getting overtopped with the water, why not push the plantings back into the lawn area?
What we proposed to do was raise the bulkhead a foot. So the bulkhead is shown to be a foot higher in that location. And that's what the owner decided was an appropriate way to basically maintain those plants. Those plants were, as I said, previously shown as a required mitigation, and he wants to put them there because that's where a previous order required to be installed.
Yeah, the order from 09. I'm looking at that landscaping plan right now. That's why. Okay. And I know one of the commissioners is going to ask this, Mike, but is there any way you can redirect that stormwater discharge? Anyway. And I know it's been done before and all of that, but is there any way you can redirect that discharge?
Well, again, can we go back and can I?
Do you want me to bring it up for you?
Yes, please. Because when you look at this landform.
All right, hang on 1 second. Which schematic do you want, Mike?
How about Exhibit 3?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to share my screen for Mike.
Okay.
Because it's easier for me to do it.
If you look at this rectangular area, that, as I said, it was filled, and the date of that old plan is way back to like 1913. There's no question that this is basically filled, and the test pits that were done, the material is just a whole amalgam. It's not anything that you could leach into. So the bottom line is that when you pass runoff through the 18 inches, it'll be crystal clear, meaning there won't be any total suspended solids, and it will have reduced what they call biochemical oxygen demand. In other words, there may be some organics that are mixed in with the runoff, and they will be reduced in the 18 inches. So as I said, when I looked at this, now to give you some further background, this, if you go up north on Scranton Avenue, there was Falmouth Marine Railway. They used to make PT boats in World War II in those buildings. And this used to be part of this. Where this structure was, there used to be some old buildings a long time ago. So I believe this was part of what could have been basically a real, much more commercial area historically in the town. So the bottom line is that I don't see how I can leach into the rectangular area based on the soils that we saw. Now, the fact is that the leaching trench that is shown on exhibit exhibits, that's filter cloth on the sides and it's impervious on the bottom. So it may leach, in other words, but it's not going to be the end of the world. I suppose I could drop the bottom 6 inches so more of it would leach. I could, but believe me, I don't see how looking at the soil logs, I don't see how we can get anything to leach into the ground there on an effective basis all the time.
You all set, Mike?
Yes, thank you.
And the only other comment I have, Mr. Chairman, was from our original staff report. We kind of reiterated it in our revised comments that all of the plantings are uniform in height and nature does not grow like that. So they are being trimmed and both in every order and on all of the plans stamped by Mr. McGrath, it said that the plants would be allowed to grow into their full and mature form. So again, we are recommending the commission again, make that a condition and hold the applicant to that. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman, unless Mr. Newton has anything to add.
No, the only thing I can say is that I would ask the commission if they were to approve this to condition the plantings to survive and to condition the height of the plants as well and tie that into compliance.
Mm-hmm.
Jen, are you guys, the staff, are you clear on what mitigation was and is and needs to be?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mark, we'll start with you.
I have no comments. I think it looks good.
All right, Maury?
The only question I had, and Jen touched on it, and Mike tried to explain it, and that was a direct discharge into the harbor. And he stated that it barely drips when it fills up. And I don't know how that can happen because if you look at the plan, the entire trench says impervious membrane all around. So it's not big enough for any runoff. I mean, it might work, but we do septics, we run pipes, and I understand his constraints with his test pits that he had findings. I don't know what the soil logs were, but he could easily run a pipe to the upland towards Scranton in the area of the driveway or whatever, and put in low profile infiltrators that are below, that'll pitch down from there, and run it there. I just feel that direct discharge into the harbor is not a good idea. Other than that, I think it's a good plan.
All right. Mr. McGrath?
I don't know why you keep insisting that you're calling it a direct discharge. The town of Falmouth has several drain pipes that come out of catch basins and they dump into the harbor. That's a direct discharge. This is being treated. And so you have to understand it's being treated. But I got to tell you something, not too far away from here, there's a couple of catch basins with direct discharge.
Well, Mr. McGrath, some things are not being upgraded. Once you touch them, you upgrade them. You are upgrading, you are changing things. So when you change things, you try to improve them. And I'm not saying that your plan is not a good attempt, but there, with the shallow infiltrators you can put in, you could keep it from anything going into the harbor, because there's fertilizer, there's all sorts of things that come off that property. And if you had dry wells for the roof runoff of the house, then you can put a dry well in for the runoff.
All right. Pat?
No comments, thank you.
Peter?
Okay, Jen, did you get hard copies of all the additional exhibits since last time?
They were emailed to me late this afternoon, Peter. Why? Would you like me to email them to you?
No, but I thought that when I went to pick up my package of drawings, they typically are ready a week in advance. And that is not fulfilling the requirements.
No, and I understand. So Mike tends to like do his colored exhibits. He emailed them to me in case he had some technical difficulties. So Mike, when you're doing your exhibits, can you make sure that you submit them a week in advance so the commission can have them?
Yes, I acknowledge I submitted them late.
Okay, no further questions.
Thank you. Steve?
I have no questions. Thank you.
All right. Kevin?
No questions, thank you.
All right. Courtney?
My only comment, and it's not really is that, yeah, it's interesting, Mike, you note that this was the site of the generator. That was a coal-fired generator that supplied the entire town of Falmouth back in the 19 teens and 20s. And my father and his uncle and my uncle both used to shovel coal in that generator to keep it going in the summer to make some extra money. But other than that, I have no other comments.
Little bit of history. Betsy?
Courtney.
I have no comments. Thanks, Jamie.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All
I'll
right.
make a
Are there
motion
any
to
other?
close- Whoops.
Go ahead. All right.
I was going to make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close this hearing. Are there any other comments or questions? All right. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
Brian, I.
Mark?
Aye.
Maury?
Fox eye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. This hearing is closed. Thank you, Mr. McGrath.
Thank you very much. Everybody stay safe.
You
You as
done
well.
for the evening, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
I'm a little late with this, but I'd also like to acknowledge the attendance of our Board of Selectmen liaison, Sam Patterson. Thank you, Sam. Next up, Lynn Riley, 0 Gale Avenue, Assessors Map 40, 12, parcel lot 040000, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct a single-family dwelling, to install native plantings, and to perform all associated clearing, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Mr. Boselli up as a panelist to present his continued project.
Mr. Boselli?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Mike Boselli, Falmouth Engineering, representing the applicant. With your permission, I'll share my screen briefly to review the revisions.
Yes, sir.
The project was reviewed, and there were a couple things that needed to be taken care of, so we continued the hearing. And there's a revision on the plan that was submitted to the files February 2nd. And the revisions are as follows. We added the trees within 25 feet of the limit of work in the no disturbance zone A. You can see them on the plan. We added the step off the deck here. We indicated on the plan the elevation of the first floor and the elevation of the deck. We added the rinse station and the AC condenser. This is a passive house. It's energy efficient, and the air conditioning unit is very small. These are the dimensions to scale on the plan. I believe that sums up all the revisions, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mike. Jen? You can
Mike, can
stop
you stop
sharing, Mike.
sharing?
Thank you.
No, I don't have any questions. Mike, was there any discussion about the trees with the solar panels at the last hearing? I seem to maybe have
Well,
been,
the
or
only discussion about that was that we're proposing to remove trees within the limit of work on the south and west side of the house, but not on the, obviously not on in the no disturbance zone, only in areas
Okay.
in the outer buffer zone.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Mike. No additional comments unless Mr. Newton has any, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, Mike, thanks for adding that step on the deck.
Sure.
I love when they say, I don't have any questions. Do you have any trees in the way? Never mind. Betsy,
No questions.
Courtney,
No questions.
Kevin,
No questions.
Mark,
No questions.
Maury.
The only thing is, Mike, when they plant, because now that we have the trees on the plan, you have the oak and the pine and another pine that are interfering with your planting. So just make sure that they're not going to interfere. with
The root systems, understood.
Okay, thank
We
you.
can juggle those around.
Yep, thank you.
Pat,
No questions.
Peter.
Mike, thank you for updating the drawing and addressing all our concerns. No questions.
You're welcome.
Steve.
Thanks. I think this is a great plan for this neighborhood. This is a very nice conservation area. Its impact will be minimal, and it's just perfect for that neighborhood.
I agree.
Great.
Jen, is there anything in the public chat function?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Then I'm going to make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird, second.
All right, you heard it here. We have a motion and a second to close this hearing. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Renee, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. This hearing is closed. Thank you, Mr. McGrath. I'm sorry, Mr. Boselli. 2 times.
Good night, Mike. You
Thank
done
you,
for the
folks.
evening, Mike?
I am. Have a good
All right,
evening.
good night.
See you next
All
time.
right, Mike.
Thank you, people.
Oops. All right, next up, request to amend an existing order of conditions. Dana Roden, Quistit Harbor Preservation Trust, 48 Quistit Harbor Road, Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the order of conditions for Mass DEP 254430 to extend the repair area southeasterly by approximately 50 feet to address additional erosion to the natural corner of the landform exposed to the southwest fetch. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Jeremy Packard from Foth Engineering up to present the project. I also, Jeremy, I promoted Nick Crawford up. Will he be speaking on this too, or?
Nick will probably be speaking, yes.
Okay, so I promoted Nick Crawford up as well. Anyone else? Should I promote Dana up, or?
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to promote Dana.
Okay, and Dana Roden.
All
Okay.
right, you're up, sir. Whenever you're ready.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I am here once again on behalf of Chris Harbor Preservation Trust and Salt Pond Bird Sanctuary to discuss ongoing work out at Quistit Nub. So today we're talking about the bank stabilization work on the harbor side of the property. And we had previously, let me share my screen. That should be up. We had previously been authorized to perform bank stabilization along this natural bank right here, just to the south of the existing wooden staircase. We had 60 feet that was previously authorized to be stabilized with coir bags, oak posts, sand, beach nourishment, and beach grass plantings. So since that work has been authorized, the site has experienced additional erosion, as you can see in the picture here in the submittal. So that this additional erosion here occurred, we think probably in the storms last April, April of 2020. So we are under construction on the site, and we have completed the work on the 60 feet that was originally authorized. And now we're here basically to request authorization to complete the work here and bring stabilization all the way to the natural corner of the landform, as stated. Notable on this section of the project is the height. It's definitely it's a lesser height than we're seeing on the work that's already been completed. And we're also further back from the tide line. We're pretty tight to the high tide line on this northern piece right here. And as you move south, you actually get further away from the tide line. So we have the benefit of seeing not only the plan, but the final work in place. Nick Crawford and his folks over there doing a really nice job being stewards of the land and keeping the job site clean and everything in order, at least in my opinion. I guess your opinion is really what matters. But basically all we're looking to do and all we're requesting to do is just continue the work that we're doing and finish off kind of the stabilization of this bank. That's really the long and short of it.
Sarah, Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I don't see that Nick is with us yet, but
I'm here.
Oh, hi Nick, how are you?
Hello. Yeah, I was just yeah, I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any. Otherwise it's, you know, almost literally an extension of everything that's already been completed. Like Jeremy said, this you know, additional length is a little bit lower in height. So presumably there'll be a little bit less work that would need to be done to regrade the bank once the envelopes are put in. But just like we did with the first section that we finished up just after Christmas, you know, we tried to match the existing grade as best as possible, while at the same time balancing the angle of the bank when we leave it, so that it's not as steep as when we got there, because that would defeat the purpose. So you know, Jeremy also mentioned that you know, it will be a little bit easier for us to construct this length as well, because we are out of the tidal range, because we're getting pretty wet there when we put that first half in. But hopefully it'll be a lot drier for this next portion if we're able to do it. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and that's it.
Thank you, Nick. Mr. Roden, do you have anything to add?
I don't, thank you.
All right. Jen, anything?
No, they seem to be doing a really great job over there with this stabilization. I went out there with Mr. Roden and members of Salt Pond when they first were kind of talking about this. It's something they've been kind of looking at for a while. Site was pretty well stabilized when I went out there on the part they did. So this is just an extension of that. And staff has no additional questions, unless Kevin Newton does.
No, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. It is a good looking project.
Mm,
Oh, all right. Maury, we'll start with you.
No questions.
Pat,
No questions, thank you.
Peter,
No questions.
Steve,
Thanks for the good work. No questions.
Betsy,
No questions.
Courtney,
No questions.
Kevin,
And no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mark.
No questions.
All right. I don't know if it's necessary, but I'm going to ask, is there anything in the public chat function, Jen?
no, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Then I'll make a motion to close this hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. If there's no further comments, I'm going to take a vote. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Rooney, aye.
Maury,
Hawk, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. This hearing is closed. Thank
Thank
you,
you very
gentlemen.
much. Have a good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Next up, requests to extend the existing order of conditions. First up, SHM Fiddler's Cove LLC, 42 Fiddler's Cove, North Falmouth, Mass, DEP number 25-4361, requesting a 1-year extension. Ben?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting 1-year extension and staff recommends it.
Anybody have any comments or questions?
Question why?
Oh,
Jen, did you get that?
Courtney,
Oh, sorry.
nope. You know what? She gave me a blank. Give me 1 second, Courtney. It didn't copy correctly. So hold that thought and I will get that, we'll get that right up for you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, you can ask other questions. It's just going to take me a minute to get there.
All right. I'll go down the list and make it easy. Betsy,
Yeah,
No
thank you.
Courtney. Oh, you asked, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
Kevin?
no questions.
The question is,
Yep.
1 second,
She's
Court.
getting that. Mark,
No questions.
Maury,
No questions.
Pat,
No questions.
Peter,
No questions.
Steve, all right.
Reconfigured it. Reconfigured. 1 second, Courtney. Oh, wait, so I'm on the wrong DEP number. 1 second, sorry. I'm not finding it scanned, Courtney. I'm sorry. It says something along the lines of, oh, she didn't put it in. And honestly, Courtney, I read it a while ago and I just don't remember, but I agreed with it at the time. So I apologize. I can get the answer for you tomorrow.
they started the project.
Yes,
Okay, so they need more time.
yes, they need more time.
I'm going to make a motion to grant the 1-year extension.
Bird second.
Thank you. All right. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Rooney, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawks Eye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
Thank
Courtney,
you. It
it's
is
the dredging
unanimous.
project. I just found it. So it's the dredging project. So yes.
It is unanimous. We have granted a one-year extension. Next up, Rands Canal Association, 0 Rands Canal, North Falmouth, Mass, DEP number 25-4337, requesting a one-year extension.
Same thing and it's same dredging project DEP number. Courtney, hang on. Request for extension. On behalf of our client, Rands Canal Association, we hereby request a one-year extension permit to the order of conditions to be granted for the order of conditions is technically set to expire. It was technically set to expire January of the 31st of this year, but it's automatically extended because of the COVID. They don't know how long the COVID extension is going to last. So they just want to cover their bases and ask for a one-year extension, Courtney. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Anybody have
And
any
it's
questions
maintenance
or
dredging.
comments?
I'll make a motion to grant the extension for 1 year.
Bird, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to grant a one-year extension to this 25-4337. There's no further comments or questions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Rooney, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawks Eye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have granted a one-year extension. Thank you, everyone. Next up, vote order of conditions. First up, Lawrence and Valerie Sullivan, 345 Grand Avenue, Falmouth, Mass.
That was Mike's project where you have to revise it and add that little decking that wasn't on there. It was a raised rebuild. We questioned the bedroom count, but he submitted something like during the hearing or late before the hearing that the health department did a walkthrough, so it's not an increase in bedrooms, and they're still planting, I think it was like 8 bayberry or beach plum or something like that along Grand Ave. I don't think
Betsy, if
staff
you would,
had too many and then he did put the AC and generator units on the plan.
Yeah, Jamie, may I give the quorum so that
Please.
Susan has it? The
just
quorum
who's
is,
not on it.
the only person not on it is me.
Perfect. It's much simpler.
I'll make a motion to accept the order as discussed.
Harris, second.
All right. Is there anything anybody wants on there that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward.
The only thing we ask is that the walls not be any higher than 24 inches.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right.
That was the only thing I had.
So pretty much everything's been covered.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Rooney, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawks Eye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve. Aye. It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Francis and Claire Norton, 87 Childs River Road, East Falmouth, Mass.
This is the burnt
Betsy, the quorum?
house.
The quorum is everyone but me.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jen?
Again, this was the burnt house. The unfortunate house that burned on Childs River. Very sad. I think all of the staff's concerns were addressed with the revision because they got rid of the addition. So we were concerned about a couple of the trees over by the revision. They reduced the mitigation. They explained because the enlargement of the structure is coming toward the street side, they had to rotate that septic tank, and because they are rotating it, the Board of Health is making them revise it from a 1,000 gallon tank to a 1,500 gallon tank. Am I correct on that, Maury? To bring it up to code. And they reduced the mitigation. I mean, there's not much. I mean, they're just trying to rebuild their house that unfortunately, was damaged in a fire.
Did Mike put the land containing shellfish on it? On the revised plan?
Not on the revised one, he didn't, but I will make sure he submits a new one with that.
All right. Anybody have anything they want to see on this? Above and beyond that is.
I know that we did ask, and it's nothing in our purview that we can enforce, but Mike was going to ask the applicant about a D-night. So that was just something we had mentioned because of the neighbors.
You're right. All right, what's your flavor?
I'll make a motion to accept the order as discussed.
Carlo Hawk, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. If there's nothing further. Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Mark?
Ernie, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawk's eye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Thank you. Next up, Sarah Commugus Young and Leighton Felker Young III, 10 Quahog Pond Lane, Falmouth, Mass.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is like a deck. A deck with some restoration and some invasive species removal and restoration. So yes, they're enlarging the deck, adding some mitigation, and then doing some invasive removal and replanting. Staff had asked them to revise their original planting schedule plan. That has been done. There was a shed that was not on the plan that has been added. And I think we are good. The only other thing is they should be doing the monitoring plan for 3 years on the restoration aspect of it. So it's the only thing.
Jen offered that, didn't she?
Yep, that's the only thing we would say put in there is a 3-year monitoring.
Okay. Betsy, quorum, please.
Yeah, the quorum in its abbreviated form is everyone except Maury and Betsy.
Excellent, thank you. I have a procedural question when we're done with this one. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to see on this one that hasn't been already discussed? All right, what you thinking?
I'll make a motion to accept the order as discussed.
Harris, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Ready, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Before we go, Jen, on the, like this project here, Betsy and Maury were not on the original quorum of 120, but they both participated in the continued hearing. Would that not put them back on the quorum?
They've missed the original hearing. I don't believe the town has adopted that they can go back and look at the record. So, but maybe Pat can clarify that.
It's my understanding that the town never voted to accept the legislative authorization to read the record and become part of the quorum. So
I know we talked about that at length a while ago, but I guess I forgot that it hadn't been accepted by the town. So thank you for clarifying that.
it's changed since my tenure. You know, I'll call the office and ask if it's been approved.
I don't believe they have.
Okay, again, just my bad memory. I'm old, what can I tell you? All right, folks, that's all we have.
Well, on that note, I'll make an order, or I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Carlo Hawk, second.
All right.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Word, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Mark,
Ready, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawk's, aye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Good night, guys.
IT.
Good night.
Thank you.